Everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to today's Etheria restart video. So for today's video, we're going to talk about the final closed beta tier list. So the reason why I stated final closed beta tier list is because I think the units or the numbers might be still subjected to change before the global release, right? So after the final closed beta, after we are done with the final run and everything is confirmed, before the actual release of the game, I'll probably do another tier list to discuss more about my own opinions for the different units in the game itself. For today's video, we refer to Prydwen.gg's tier list and then throw in our own opinion if there are certain things which we strongly disagree or we think is, a little bit off. So we will just take a look at this tier list, give our own opinions, and then run through the units and discuss about the units that we are familiar with mostly. Okay, so starting off with Hellkit right here. So Hellkit, I think Hellkit's role is not control. It's more like a shielding damage dealer type of unit. In terms of the tier ratings, yep, everything is pretty similar to how I feel Hellkit is. But I think on the PvP side, right, Hellkit is T5 for Doki Doki because of his element. Because Doki Doki is a blue element boss. The units that Doki Doki summons, they are from the blue faction. So for those of you guys who haven't played the game, blue counter red, red counter green, right? Yellow counter purple, and purple counter, basically light versus dark kind of concept. So Doki Doki hits super hard against the red element units, and Hellkit is not exactly the best to be used in Doki Doki boss fight. So that's that. But with regards to the other stuff, I think if you get off Hellkit's skill, you get a strop barrier that prevents debuffs onto your team, and that is actually very, very helpful in a lot of different situations. However, for the PvP side, I think both the AI as well as the RTA side should be reduced to T0.5 because Hellkit's numbers have been reduced, and he's no longer able to generate the strop barrier for more defensive protection on this unit, and he's not exactly the tankiest unit. So yes, he does have some stun, has some attack down for all the enemies, and AoE coverage, and also an incredible strop barrier ability, but he got nerfed a little bit. So like, I don't think he's top of the pack. Like, you can make do without him, and there are a lot of other units which I think, especially the new ones, that excels him in the PvP side of things. So that's for Hellkit, but generally a good unit. Doki Doki. Okay, this is one of the top reroll targets by a lot of experienced players. I personally prefer Lily over Doki Doki. So I'll explain why. But Doki Doki as a speed control as well as your debuff removal is quite helpful, especially against bosses with a whole bunch of debuffs, right? Or even against Aurora, which deals damage over time through her abilities itself. So that is where I think Doki Doki is good. But I can agree with all the different tiers of all the different categories, but Doki Doki herself. So the reason why I say that is because for this Doki Doki boss fight, you will need a speed control, or you need you need a CC, crowd control, sorry. You also need a DPS, and you need some sustain for the fight itself, right? So this is where you can definitely use Doki Doki for the team for the speed control, but I think you have better options for the limited slots because you only can fill 4 units. So if you need 1 unit for each of the role I just mentioned, then Doki Doki is not a must-have, right? So that's why she's not T0. T0.5, T1, fully acceptable. Speed control is always going to be a good thing, and Doki Doki, being one of the better speed control unit, is definitely one of the top tier units that most people will be rerolling for. Okay, next up, Messiah. Or Messiah, so some people will call it. I guess Messiah actually got a massive buff after the recent patch because the numbers actually got increased, and being able to do extra damage based off the target's lost HP makes this unit pretty good for bossing purposes as well. So that's quite a fair bit of damage, and the ignore defense is especially good against those high defense units or bosses with the ability to buff up their defense. So generally he got buff number wise, and his invincibility skill, right, is actually quite annoying in the PvP side. So I can see why they gave this unit T0 across the board, right? T3 for Aurora, cause the thing about invincibility is that it's actually weak to DOT. So Aurora being a DOT bossing unit is actually quite good against Messiah. There's also like all the other different bosses in the game, which I think invincibility is not the most effective defensive mechanics, but like against PvP where you have one whole round of no damage taken. I think it's actually quite broken, provided you're able to get it off with enough speed control. So you guys will hear a lot of speed control, and that's why units like Doki Doki and Lily, they are insanely good because of that speed control factor in this game. So for Masaya's case, I can agree with the tier list in general. In fact, for PvP, yeah, definitely T0. Maybe not as much for Terramaton, I guess, because like Terramaton might actually nuke Masaya down before he's able to get his invincibility stuff off. And I think you might have better units for Terramaton over Masaya as a carry. But I think against every other boss where I guess I can sort of accept it in a sense, because like this faction over here, this element, this yellow color element over here is actually pretty universal in terms of damage dealt. So you don't particularly deal less damage against a specific boss, but you also don't do more damage. But then Masaya's kit is pretty boss centric because he's able to deal damage and do additional damage based off the lost HP. So it's quite good, especially against bosses with a whole bunch of HP, right? As this damage will scale out with time. So yep, I guess Masaya's tier rating is pretty fair. Hendrik is definitely T0 across the board. Like, this unit is seen almost in every single game mode. Another unit which I think is a high reroll priority because of his ability to increase crit damage with last words. This last words is basically all the different one-shot video, the one-shot cleave onto all the different units kind of combo compilation. You will see this unit a lot because like what a lot of the different bossing contents does for the one-shot teams is that you have Hendrik to debuff the boss with all this damage, crit damage increase, crit rate increase, and then you just buff up your mega carry, and then your mega carry just one-shot with their skill itself. So this unit is insanely good, and it also has the block ability to prevent heal. So that's that. Really, really good stuff in general. And I think like, yeah, Hendrik is actually one of the more broken character this patch. Because like there are a lot of good healers running around, so being able to counter that, being able to increase the crit of your carries, being able to do damage himself because he's an AoE damage dealer as well, it's quite good for like basically contents where you need to have AoE. So yep, T0 for sure. Tiamat's T0, yeah. So those units where it's like T5, it's because like their elements just doesn't match the boss and they're not the best unit you want to use for that boss specifically. So Tiamat's the blue faction, Terra is the green faction, so green counter blue, not the best unit. Yeah, I personally think Tiamat's T0 for all this. Union boss, I think depends on how you team build for Tiamat though. You can team build her to give her a lot of HP. So Tiamat's a HP percentage based unit with the ability to transform into Mother of Evolution to actually deal damage. True damage, I think, based on percentage of her HP. So right here, for every 30%, gain 1 stack of bloodshed. Bloodshed reach a stack, gets multiple form and then gets additional turn. So her ultimate, right, gives her damage based off her max HP. I think it's not written here. Oh, it's here. Ultimate form right here. Okay, so Purge Day. So this skill is actually pretty powerful as it scales off a percentage of her HP. So this is where I think Tiamat is a really good unit and it's a carry that you can definitely build around, and being a HP percentage based unit is also one of the easiest to build in the early game because you get access to Terramaton and you're able to actually farm Terramaton the most easily over all the other bosses in most cases. So this is why I think Tiamat is quite worthy of that T0 status across the board. Yeah, except for that like Terramaton counter. One of the premier damage dealer because she is tanky with a HP build and she's able to counter kill with the Mother of Evolution. You can build her speed, you can build her effect resistance, you can build her HP percentage. There's a lot of different builds you can go with her. It's a very, very flexible character in the meta. Yeah, even in the like current meta with a lot of really strong units. So next one we have Lily. Yeah, Lily is in fact I think T0 across the board. Like Lily is the technically not the fastest. There is Claws with 118 speed, but Lily is at 117 base. So like what this means is like if let's say you have a Lily, you max out all the speed stats on all your equipment, she's technically one off, or if not the second fastest unit, just off like her sheer speed stats. And then once she gets off her shadow trick, oh my god, you're just gonna speed past and breach through all the enemies. Like she is much faster than Doki Doki, right? Like the thing about speed control is you need to get off your skills for your speed control to kick in, and Lily here is 132. And then if we go into Doki Doki right here, so we go into Doki Doki, so Doki Doki is 125. So for a speed control unit, Lily has the speed advantage, which means that if let's say you tune them equally on their equipments, right, Doki Doki's gonna lose to Lily in terms of getting their skills off. And this is why, right, I think Lily is definitely the best speed control unit that's worthy of T0 across the board. Yeah, so that's my thought about Lily. One of the best speed control, CD control, as well as some buffs or damage of the ultimate itself. So that's Lily. Lingluo. To be really honest, right, I actually prefer Sanya over Lingluo in most cases, as in the 4-star Sanya. But I guess Lingluo as a S level character probably is one of the strongest, provided you're able to build her up. Do take note that the difference between the purple color character as well as the yellow character is that the yellow color characters are a lot tougher to build up because you need to level up their skills, you need to level up their dupe copies. So even though they might be T0, there are some more valuable characters that is in the purple category that's insanely good and a lot easier to build up. So that's for like the thing that I want to talk about. But Lingluo is definitely one of the more powerful healers around, being able to extend buffs. So one meta or one way of team building for different contents is to just build a buff team, right? With Beyondin, with Lily, with Doki Doki, with Tsukuyomi, with whatever buffing units you can think of, and then you have a good carry to carry you. So Lingluo being able to sustain, being able to extend the buff, gives you the immunity to all the different debuff is actually insanely good, provided you're able to get her skills off. So yep, T0, perfectly fine. And she heals based off her max HP of the allies itself. So like you don't actually need to build a particular stats on her. Ideally, in most cases, is cure as well as speed, because that will increase the healing efficiency with her able to cycle through the skills much faster. I kind of disagree with Freya's rating. Yeah, like Freya is actually pretty insane for Doki Doki. Freya's element counters Doki Doki's unit, number 1, and number 2, Freya's able to increase the damage taken. So what you can do, right, instead of using Doki Doki on Doki Doki, is use Freya in Doki Doki slot for the debuff, and then you have a control, you have a DPS, and then you have a healer, right? Boom, then you just burst down the unit there. So there is a possibility. So I kind of disagree. I think Freya as a buffer debuffer is actually really good, and Freya's insanely fast, by the way. Yeah, speed is king. Even faster than Doki Doki. So like if you don't have any speed control, right, she'll get her skill off first, and then you'll be able to debuff, and then you'll be able to allow your allies to do more, and the ability to give your ally the Dream Wave will prevent some debuffs onto your team itself. Pretty good stuff. So I think Freya's definitely worthy of a T0 across the board as well. Okay, so next up we have Tsukuyomi. So Tsukuyomi has also the speed up plus attack up with the ability to silence, deal AoE damage and stuff while reducing all skill CD. So Tsukuyomi is in the same category as Lily, Doki Doki, as well as our dear Freya to a certain extent, but Tsukuyomi is faster than Doki Doki. So the only thing is her element. So overall, I guess tier wise, pretty okay. Any unit with speed control, with attack buff, with some additional utility like silence, block, or crit reduction, attack down is going to be quite useful on the utility side. And you can probably use her in a defense team, right? A team that built based off the defense stats, because her damage is dealt based off her defense. So I think she works better in those teams as compared to building attack on her, because like attack is not going to benefit her damage output. So that's for Tsukuyomi. Then we have Bochne. Unfortunately, I think Bochne is a little bit lower. Yeah, not saying that he's not impressive, but like in a lot of cases, I realized Star Caller, right? The ability to bypass the target's passive skill is relatively useless. Because you don't shut down the passive, you bypass it when you're attacking. So if it's an offensive passive that activates during your opponent's turn, then it's quite useless. And there isn't a lot of units that are passive driven and not the meta units, at least in the PvP side. So like if you take a look at all the T0s, right? So like T0, Hellkit doesn't have a passive, Doki Doki doesn't have a passive, Messiah, Hendrik, Tiamat, Lily, Lingluo, Freya, Tsukuyomi, they don't have a passive. So like if you go against them, then that part of his ability is very, very wasted in the first place. Like it's not even about, you know, going against offensive passive. It's like there's no passive for you to bypass in the first place. So at the very least, I think what he does quite well is that he can convert his attack boost to HP percentage, which makes him a little bit tankier. But like having a lot of his kit not activating in a lot of situations is just not a good sign for him, at least based on current observation. So for Bochne, I will put him at T1 in most cases. Yeah, not T0.5, unfortunately. Rosa's definitely one of the strongest damage dealer right now. She's able to self-buff, she's able to follow up damage to the allies, and her Blade Heart Bloom is actually more potent than I think it is. And like this crit boost, right, is very universal, because like in this game itself, there's units that deals damage based off their HP percentage, there's unit that deals damage based off their attack, there's unit that deals damage based off their defense. So the most universal stat is actually crit rate as well as crit damage for the damage boosting compartment. So Rosa can easily fit into multiple different teams for the buffing, DPS potential, and also do a whole lot of damage with the ability to debuff the speed on the enemy. So speed control there as well. So Rosa's one of the most OP character right now. And then scrolling down, okay, Chiaki's one of the best 4-star speed control wise. Yeah, it's a downgrade substitute to the likes of Doki Doki as well as Lily as well as Tsukuyomi. Grace a downgrade to AoE damage DPS wise. Very simple, this unit just buffs crit and then just use the AoE skill for damage. But considering the cost of grade, right? If you consider the cost to upgrade him, if you don't have the resource, like you are free to play or you're low on the resource end, this character is actually very high value. Like I'll give him T1 across the board for the amount of investment you need to put into him. So relative to the investment cost, is a purple character. Purple character is one tier below. SR is like the 4-star, so it's easier to build up, and like it is a unit which I think delivers on what it does. It's just like crit and then boom AoE and then debuff and then do damage from there. Obviously his numbers not the most impressive, but I guess if you are comparing the amount of cost you dump into him, it's quite good of a unit. So also one of the starter characters, so quite easy access. Lian's okay, yeah, nothing much to say about Lian. If you're able to build her up, she's good. But like in most cases, if you build her up, there are, I'll say, like much more top tier carries. But Lian is cheap because you get duplicates of her from your hyper revelation missions. Lily is definitely more PvP centric. Yeah, Lily's mischief, graceful mischief, is insanely powerful in PvP. Being able to continuously hold the enemy in place, getting extra turns, and then cycling through the skills insanely quickly. So Lily is quite powerful for the PvP side. For other contents, not so much, because for bossing, right, you can't actually control the boss in most cases, so her biggest part of her kit, being able to control people, is not as efficient. So for the Aurora side, right, like Aurora does damage over time, which is actually pretty bad against Lily, because Lily is a HP percentage based damage dealer. So you're gonna build HP on her if you want her to be a damage dealer, and she's gonna lose a lot of HP there. So that's for Lily. So that's why he's only T5. Claws is okay. Yeah, Claws is also sort of like a speed control unit. I have no idea why Claws feels a lot weaker compared to the likes of Tiamat, Lily, and Doki Doki. I guess to a certain extent, right, it's because self-buff, it's guaranteed to go through. Whereas Claws is a debuff onto your enemy, which means that your opponent can build effect resistance and they might be able to resist the skills of Claws, although there is this, I think, hidden 25% sure hit kind of thing going on for the effect side. So that's why Claws is a little bit weaker. Technically, this unit is also speed control, and technically Claws is the fastest unit. Technically, 133, right? Lily just now, this character, while the fastest speed control over here is... Okay, there's an ad here. Let us go into the page. So you go into Lily right here, 132. So technically Claws is faster on the base speed. So that's why Claws is actually really good, provided you get a debuff off. So I guess the reason why this unit is not as nice in terms of the ratings itself is because of effect resistance, which could reduce the efficiency. Rahu, okay. Defensive carry support. Okay, fair. I don't use Rahu a lot, so like yeah, it's a very rare unit that I use, because like I don't really like the idea of building defense on my units. Beyontin, to be really honest, I think outside of PvP, Beyontin is easily T0 across the board. It's like easily, because like I mentioned, I think crit damage as well as attack plus, very, very universal stuff. She has Underworld Flower, which increases her survival by giving her some damage reduction, and also the ability to revive your allies, which is amazing for PvE purposes. So like I think Beyontin is T0 across the board, but not in PvP, because yeah, it's a little bit slow. But T0.5 quite strong already. Hoya is not available in the game right now, at least based on the current build that we are playing. So we're not going to talk too much about her. Used to be an insanely good like one shot, one kill kind of unit. Sania, super duper niche character. She builds off damage over time. So she has a skill that takes all the damage over time debuff onto the enemy. But that is if you're building a damage over time team with her. So very, very niche team to optimize her and not the best damage dealer you can pull off. But if you're able to build a damage dealing team, she's quite good. Remocha, I guess it's okay. AoE damage is actually relatively impressive, really. If she's able to burst a lot of damage, her cannon becomes a 3-hit, 100% across 3 targets, which is quite a fair bit of damage. T0.5 I think is fair. Mia, yeah, I don't use her a lot. She has a dispel. So she has a dispel on the cascade. She has a heal on the sunny day itself, right? So I guess on the utility side she's quite useful, but I just don't use her a lot. So I guess I'll believe Prydwen's tier list for our Mia over here. I'll probably do a showcase for her later after the recording of this one to just see, you know, like what are the different situations that I might want to use Mia. Sanya's one of the best 4-star support for sure. Having the ability to heal, dispel, having the ability to increase max HP and revive, just a really good all-around character that can fit into multiple different scenarios. One of my favorite characters, by the way. This Sanya, one of my favorite supports. Obol, one of the damage dealing control type of character. DPS, DOT, damage over time with control. So Obo's ability is DOT with some stuns over here. But the thing is, I think Obo is more used as a damage dealer for DOT teams than the control, because there's another unit which is Kraken, which is much better control wise. Yeah, so like I'll talk about all the other lower tier units and what they do, but I guess Obo is generally versatile for like his role because of control as well as damage with DOT. So Fungus is, I don't know, I don't think Fungus is that good, and there's a lot of good reason DPS, and there's a free one as well. Lien is free, right? You can build Hellkit, right? So I think follow-up damage of Fungus is okay. Veronica is actually also decently good as a damage dealer as well, and Rin is okay. Yeah, so like there are a lot of good fire units or raid units, which I think, I don't know, I just don't feel that good about Fungus in terms of the rating. Very, very slow character. This character relies on the follow-up damage, which is damage after your ally use a skill, right? So like this unit also has damage over time, but he's relatively slow in terms of the speed wise. I think 125 is fair, but it's like you have other better options. So like if you want to build him up, I guess not a bad choice, but you just have better options. Tier rating, I can accept it. PvP is definitely a little bit too slow for follow-up, at least not this sort of follow-up. It's more like if it's like a Rosa follow-up, you debuff the opponent and then the debuff has some follow-up capability. Really good stuff. Not this one. Marvel. I'm not very familiar with Marvel, so I'm not going to talk too much about Marvel, but apparently seems like a pretty good unit. T 0.5 across the board. T, like I mentioned, right? If it's like T2 and below against certain bosses, T5 means the element is just not meant for the boss and then you just get nuked by the boss. T2 means that you probably have a better unit as a substitute in that slot with regards to what Marvel wants to do. So that's that. Okay, T 0.5 for PvP related contents. Shiada. Okay, the thing about Shiada is a buffing carry, so you need to actually buff her up for her soul essence to reach maximum stat, then use your skill spam onto the enemy to do massive damage. So you need other teammates to sort of excel at Shiada. But then I think buffing is actually quite a common theme in the early to mid game. So if you do get Shiada as one of your first character, or one of the first like SSR character, I think she's okay. Veronica's a very tech based character because this unit, right, deals damage with a little bit of shooting with the ability to steal the buff from the opponent. So like I think over here suddenly with the remove HP, they apply 2-turn shield to max allies to all enemies. Okay, and then Over here, her Spirit Circle has the ability to spew all buffs from the enemy. So I guess if your opponent's playing a heavily buff-centric team, Veronica could be a good counter unit, specifically for her ability to steal the buffs itself and then put it onto your whole team. So that's that. That's why she's good for PvP. But like against the bossing or your PvE contents in general, if the units doesn't even apply that much of a buff on themselves, then she becomes a little bit obsolete. Usable, but not as strong as she should be, with this buff stealing and then dealing damage from the buff stolen. Celine's is, I don't know. I don't know. I have never seen people use her before. Yeah, like I think the reason because why she's not good is because like she has RNG in the debuff she applies. It's like if it's like a DOT, you slot her into a DOT team, right? If she has silence, you use her more in the PvP side to prevent your opponents from using their skills. I think Aqua Shield is okay, but like she's neither here nor there, so that's why like yeah, not exactly like a good unit if you're neither here nor there, since you have better options for the slot, I guess. Chorus. Okay, T1, T0, okay. T5, yes. T0, okay. Very, very good damage dealer, by the way. Yeah, this unit is more PvE centric, because like chain lock. Okay, so chain lock over here. Chain lock deals increased damage and then takes decreased damage, which means that Chloros as a unit can survive better against single target stages where you only have like one boss, for example, and then the boss hits like on the Chloros itself, right? And there's also the Doomtoll ability. So Doomtoll over here is able to give him more damage with follow-up attack built into the kit itself for more DPS. So that's why he's quite good for PvE contents, namely the bossing side. Okay, so that's for Chloros. Victor. I don't know. I have never actually used Victor before. I do know that there are a few people that think that Victor is really good. But I guess to be fair, considering Victor is an SR character with the ability to reduce damage and increase damage dealt based on the damage on him, I guess he could be a decent damage dealer, I guess. Not very familiar with him. So I'll take Prydwen's tier list rating for that. Okay, so Victor T1, yeah, I can see how. Take damage, increase your sustain, increase your damage output. Chucky is another sustain unit that you can use over like all the other healers, but in the healers category there's just a lot of more powerful supports out there in the 5-star, and even in the 4-star we already have Sanya. So if you're purely finding a unit for sustain, Chucky, I guess the only advantage that Chucky has is the element, yeah, and the Origami Guardian for the defense boost. Rin, yeah, speed control here, speed up and speed down. This character, I've seen her being used before. Quite annoying if she gets her skill off. Speed control unit, always going to be good for PvP. I don't use Dorothy the Wisher that much, so we're just going to go with Prydwen's tier rating. T1, T1, T5, T1, T2, T1. Pretty okay healer support. Yeah. Viper. Okay. T1, T0.5, T2, T5, T1, T1, T0.5. Okay, so for the 4-star characters, right, I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not that familiar with them, because like with all the test accounts that we had, I was playing more with all the SSRs over the SRs. So like you guys will hear me not talking that much unless I have experience or I've seen these characters being used, then I will give my opinion. So Viper is a character that I don't see that much as well, at least like based on my experience so far. But T1, T0.5, T2, T5, T1, T1, T0.5, okay. Valerian's a character that's actually quite powerful because this unit, right, has a few good hyper carries that you can buff up. So over here, the second skill bubble gives 1 turn invincibility, right, and heal over time, and also give you that protection for your allies with the Hazy Dream ability right here. So what this means is that I think if you are running a hyper buff carry team, then Valerian is actually quite a good unit there. But if you were to rate her as a healer support character, I think you have better options, right? So that's for Valerian. Definitely one of the top tier support healers, and her element is quite neutral as well. Kachi, I don't know. I don't use Kachi that much, and I think for the control side, Kraken's a little bit better. Kraken, this character is very control centric. If you take a look at Kraken's kit, right? So I've seen him used in like the PvP tournaments and also some replays where you need control. There's a freeze ability which is quite insane. There's also a deep freeze over here. So he's able to actually synergize with the control and also spam his control if you have enough speed control, and then you just like hold the enemy in place if you don't have enough effect resistance. Yeah. I've seen Yang used as a buffer against I'll say Doki Doki, right? Because the element is okay. Yang has a AoE, has a buff for the team as well. This is a tank Rin, by the way. This is the taunt version of Rin. So this one taunts the enemy to attack her. I guess the one place that she excels at is Terramaton, but other than that, I think the other one is better. The blue version of her is better because that one has speed control. D-Ting is used specifically to snipe off Terramaton and maybe against Aurora, because D-Ting is a unit that translates crit rate into crit damage, so it's quite easy to build him in terms of the build sense. Just build crit damage and then you just go for like all the mega hyper crit damage, crit rate buff, and then boom 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 one shot with D-Ting or something. So that's for D-Ting skill. Dorothy is the starter healer. I guess it does its job as a starter healer. Obviously, you're not going to expect her to be a meta healer, but usable at least for your early to mid-game progression until you get the Link Lore from the 7-day lock-in itself. Dina is quite good for your Terramaton, debuff onto the boss. I think Dina is a debuffer and damage amplification for your team, right? With her skill set over here. So like for bossing contents, definitely very, very good stuff. You debuff the boss while the things that you can do to give your carry more damage, and then you kill them off as fast as possible to get more stars on the boss itself. Pterodon, I think it's attack and defense buffer. I don't use her a lot. Oberon as well, I don't use her a lot. I guess there's a reason why I don't use them or I don't see them a lot, because their tiers are much lower. So these are the weaker units that you kind of want to avoid. This Kazuyo, the Reverie, this unit. Yeah, this unit is the control unit that you want to use against Doki Doki, which we'll talk more about it, but this is where, you know, there are specific niches for some of these characters for specific bosses, in case you're fighting those bosses. So this is one. I think Oberon is one against the DOT, I guess, mechanics, and then the Kazuyo version, right, the red color version, the control version, is better against Terramaton. Okay, so that's for the tier list. I'm not going to run through all the lousier characters in general. The only one which I kind of want to talk about is Ashu, because I think Ashu, these are the lower tier character, right? So obviously they are going to be weaker number wise, but Ashu being a very cheap DOT damage dealer is quite a good pusher for your PV contents in general, and usable for farming contents for your dungeon farmings to get more star. Very, very good AoE damage dealer, DOT kind of character that you can use. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this tier list. So I'll link Prydwen's tier list in the description down below. There are a lot of things to talk about, and I think I don't have experience in all the units. I don't use all of them that consistently to give my rating for every single one, but I hope I covered like my own opinions on the ones that I have experience with, or I've seen people use, or I play them myself within the test server itself. Okay, thank you very much for tuning in. Do remember to like and subscribe to see more Etheria restart video from this channel, and I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.